Now then, guys, welcome back to the Hull and Back podcast. I'm back on the hosting reins. Will's had his little foray while I was doing daddy duties. The season's back. We've just had our first league game of the season against Preston. Obviously, before we start this episode, though, we'll obviously shout out to all our sponsors / partners that we've got. We've got quite a few. So obviously, we've got the FIFA Factory that have been our first and everlasting ones. Got merch and everything now. Still ongoing, still going strong, getting bigger every day. And the founder of FIFA Factory is actually part of the podcast crew now. So he'll be joining us later on in the video. We've got obviously the Hull Badge Men. Big tradition. Always seen them outside the stadiums. They managed to get saved, but they still need support. Still need, to obviously get back out the stadiums. We need to be donating, buying badges whenever we can. An exciting new one with Hull City Retro. I'm pretty sure everybody knows Hull City Retro. Sell some really, really good traditional old shirts from the 90s, from the 80s. We've all got shirts from them. We've seen them before. So keep your eyes out for some good giveaways. Then we'll actually be contributing to some of the video content we'll be doing. So keep an eye out for that as well. So before we start, then we might as well welcome everybody in because we're on video content.
Yeah,
we finally started it. So I know obviously Will and Nathaniel have done this already. They were the only ones available, and they've cracked on. So Will understands it now, which is good because I don't understand the slightest thing about editing or anything. You what, Will? You crashed.
Understands a strong word.
Tolerates, gets on with it. So we'll do it in serving order then. So the first one, welcome back to the podcast, Joel, who is a rare occurrence on the podcast at the moment. How are you doing, Joel?
I'm good, are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. My voice has finally recovered from Saturday. We plan to have a big night out. We plan to come back and have a few beers after the game, but it genuinely hurt to speak and to swallow beer. My throat was that sore, and we just ended up playing FIFA, in which Joel got a bit of a lesson. Obviously. So yeah, we got Joel back on to talk. New panel member who's been great since joining. We've got Nathaniel. So
good evening.
Nathaniel, how are you? You all right?
I'm very well, thank you. How are all of you guys?
Yeah, good.
All right.
Yeah, and then our newest member, founder of the FIFA Factory, and I'm really, really excited to bring him back on. We've got Matt Phillip. How you doing, Matt? You all right?
All right, guys. Doing well. You?
Yeah, Matt. Oh, hello. But
rookie.
That's what you get for streaming on your phone. So, I guess where do we start? So, I think, obviously, did we all watch the Preston game?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Listen
we all
to
watched
it.
Yeah. So, obviously, we've got quite a bit to cover in it. We've got many, many good performances. Very few negatives. I think I'll probably go to you first, Will. What was your thoughts on the game?
Pretty fucking great. It was nice to be back, obviously, in the Championship, and I thought, like me and Nathaniel said the other day, we thought it might be a tough game, a close game. I think we both went for a draw, and after 8 minutes, I was a bit worried because sloppy defending. If there was a negative, you could say the first goal was very, very poor defending, really. Emmanuel should have done a lot better out of position. But from that point on, Preston didn't really bother us that much. I think there was 1 point right at the end, start of the second half, where they had a looping shot. That was a good save from Ingram. But apart from that, City just were in the ascendancy, and it was just fantastic return.
Yeah, I mean, you were there with me, Joel. So we experienced the atmosphere when we was there. Did you think it was different, the atmosphere? Because me personally, I felt it was a lot more positive than it's been in any past away game. Like if we'd have gone 1-0 down the last time we were in the Championship, it was a lot different this time, wasn't it?
Yeah, we seemed to just get behind the boys from minute one, even when we were 1-0 behind. Not a single "Alam out" chant, nothing negative. Everything was positive from the fans, just encouraging the team. Even when we were losing the ball, we're just trying to pick them back up and helping them push up the pitch themselves by just singing loud.
Yeah, we did back him, to be fair. I mean, we were pretty poor for the first 10 minutes of the game. We looked, we were mentioning, weren't we? They were stretching us. They were quite wide. The first goal was just a case of the defence switched off. They played a quick free kick.
Yeah.
They spread us out wide, and obviously Emmanuel looked like the most. I think someone stood next to us said he was the most obvious right back and left back ever. What did you think to Emmanuel's performance, Nathaniel?
Well, only conceded 1 goal, which is good. I mean, the last game we had with fans, we lost 5-1 at Stoke, so this was a completely different feeling after the game. I mean, I'd say he didn't really do that badly for the goal. I think perhaps it was Wilkes or Lewis Potter who didn't track back, which is why we conceded there, because he went to where the ball is. So I don't think he can criticise him too much for that. But watching him last season, it's a shame that he didn't get to play the full year, because he was great the first half. And I don't know whether he created lots of chances yesterday, but it's always nice to see him and get a glimpse at his skill going forward as well after the last half of the season where it was Coyle in his position instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were trying not to criticise Emmanuel as much as we could, because I know that if I was asked to play our position, it'd be, especially as a right footer out on the left, it's so tough.
I was surprised that Fleming didn't play.
Well, McCann said in an interview, didn't he, afterwards, that Fleming had quite a rough time with COVID, and he was nowhere near fully match fit, and he didn't want to take a gamble in the first game of the season. So, and
obviously Elder wasn't fit anywhere.
Yeah,
so it was always a bit of an awkward one.
Yeah, so I mean, Emmanuel's a good player, and it was an okay choice. I mean, like we said, it was obvious that he was out of position, but he still did his best. I mean, it was the Preston players knew he was always going to cut in on his right foot was the problem. So when we were trying to play out from the back, they were sort of strangle holding us when we got out to that hand side. But we switched it, I think, and later towards in the first half anyway, towards Coyle's side, because, I mean, to be fair, Louis Coyle was probably a contender for man of the match. What did you think, Matt?
Yeah, to be fair, I watching the game, I've heard a lot about just because we conceded in the first 10 minutes that we played poor in it, but I didn't think we played that poor in the first 10 minutes anyway. We just got caught on a quick getaway, but you could see from the first minute we was trying to play the same way we did throughout the game.
Oh, yeah.
We was trying to do it, but just wasn't successful in doing so. I wouldn't say we was poor, like a lot of the pundits have said or whatever, but the first 10 minutes, I didn't think we just made out. We just happened to concede.
Yeah, a lot of people suddenly, when we go behind, sort of get the knives out and are getting ready to say, back to the championship, back to losing.
I mean, my first thought was from the quick free kick. Malik Wilkes didn't follow his fullback, so he got caught 1-1. Quick switch, and obviously Emmanuel playing left back as a right back is naturally going to be inside more. So he got caught out of position, and credit to the goal, it was a brilliant ball in, and
yeah.
I mean, I said
to Joel at the game that the problem was at the moment is we looked like we were giving Lewis Potter and Wilkes too much freedom to stay up front, and we can't do that in this league. Like, we need them to track back and contribute to the defence, because we're going to be under the cosh a lot more this season, obviously. And yeah, the first goal, because Wilkes didn't come back, it meant that Coyle had to push, which then stretched the defence because Jones moved out wide, then Greaves has to cover that hole, and then Emmanuel moves in as well, and it just gave Barkhuizen and so much space out on that right hand side, and then it's a simple ball to far person tapping. But I think we responded well. Obviously, going 1-0 down in the championship used to be a bad thing for us, especially very early. That was just game over straight away, and we'd go on and lose quite poorly. But obviously, this time, I mean, I'll probably try and single out Richie Smallwood. I know, obviously. I mean, myself as well, in the pre-season games, probably didn't think he looked up to scratch at the moment, which is probably a bit harsh with it being pre-season. What did you think to Smallwood then, Will?
For me, it was the best. He was maybe the best, but he was definitely in the top 3 players on the pitch. I don't think he had a great pre-season, like a lot of people said, but I think the way people were acting towards him was well over board. There were people who were acting as if he'd freaking shat on their tea. But I thought he had a fantastic game and he controlled the midfield well. His goal was a bit lucky, but he deserved it for the way he was playing. He had great assist for KLP for the first as well. And all in all, it was a captain's performance, simply put.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think one of the criticisms of Smallwood this season was people didn't think. I don't know why pace is a thing when you're a defensive midfielder, but people were saying he's a bit too slow.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're sitting in,
people are clamouring for Huddleston, but then they're complaining that Smallwood's too slow.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that Huddleston has on Smallwood is his range of passing, and his probably his ball control is a lot higher. But Smallwood's going to do more of the defensive work.
That pass he made was a very Huddleston pass.
It was a very good pass. We were surprised, weren't we, Joel? I mean, when he played that pass through, I think because I thought it was Moncur, but then I noticed it was Smallwood. They were wearing similar boots. Yeah, I thought it was Moncur who played it through, and I noticed it was Smallwood. And after we stopped celebrating, I turned to Joel and said, "What a fucking pass, Smallwood!" But yeah, no, he surprised me with how well he played. To be fair, Smallwood. I think obviously, what debutants then, Joel? What did you think to Moncur?
I think he had an okay game. He didn't stand out. He was solid. So he was creating a few chances. Set pieces was fairly poor on the most part, but overall in the general play, I think he just did what he needed to do for the team. He didn't let us down, but he wasn't exactly the level of Smallwood or Coyle or KLP that game.
Yeah, I think what I like about Moncur is that, like I said to Joel at the game, I've not really seen him play in any of the friendlies. I didn't really watch any of them all the way through, so I didn't see him be like you told me, didn't you? You said that he likes to get on the ball and he'll just run. Yeah, he's super direct, and I think his ability to retain possession of the ball as a midfielder will probably be quite important to us coming. Because tactically you can. If you know you're going to have more of the ball in the opposition, you can play him over somebody else like Smallwood, for example. If you're at home against a team you expect to beat, you can probably afford to play Moncur above Smallwood, for example. Whereas away, you'd want more, solidity. So we've got a good variation in the middle, because I thought we'd miss Honeyman, but we scored 4 goals.
I actually completely forgot Honeyman wasn't playing.
Yeah, and Elder. And Wilkes obviously wasn't fully fit, and it was the way that we disposed of Preston so easily in the end. I mean, barring the first 15 minutes, we were in full control. I mean, you got to look at the likes of Louis Coyle, who was brilliant. You got Jones and Greaves, who were solid as centre-back pairing. If there was any unsung hero, then Nathaniel, who do you think deserves some praise? It's probably not going to get any.
I think Ingram, actually, because I mean, he was another one like Smallwood. After a title-winning season, it's difficult to find players that you're not really convinced by. But with how much Baxter's impressed in the friendlies, I think there was a bit of discussion as to whether he was going to start or not. But that kind of 10-minute period at the start of the second half, he made 2 really great saves from, I think, one error from Greaves, which I think maybe he was the most dodgy player on the pitch, but he didn't do that much wrong. But it was a mistake header by him, and then 2 great saves from Ingram. And although it wasn't a clean sheet, if we'd gone 2-1 down in the start of the second half, we wouldn't have won in such a convincing fashion.
Yeah, I think I said it at 1-1. I said I think the next goal wins this. I didn't. I mean, it's weird saying that when you look at how much we controlled the game in the end. But at the time, at 1-1 at half time, I thought if we conceded another, it'd just take the wind out of us. But yeah, Ingram did make them 2 quick saves against Barkers, like the one that Will mentioned earlier, that curler that he did, saved it, and then a couple of minutes later, that mistake from Greaves, and he keeps it at 1-1. It keeps us in the game, and obviously we go 2-1 up with Small. We go on to win it.
Anything realistic he got to, didn't he? The only one he didn't get to was the one that he didn't stand a chance with.
Yeah, the one that went to the far post and it's beyond him. There's not much you can do about it. Yeah, to be fair, Ingram got, I think, unfairly not criticised, but a few City fans have reservations about him, and I can't quite understand why, because I can't really remember any mistakes. Maybe one.
A lot of fans were sort of like, we've got Baxter, he will be starting, we want him to start. As if Ingram hadn't had a good season last season.
A great season.
I mean, like,
Exactly.
we had some of the most clean. What did he have? 18 clean sheets?
It was up there.
Like that.
It was like the third most, I think.
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like, he deserves his start. And I think by that performance, when he didn't really have that much to do and he did what he was expected to do and more in that game, you know, he's laid down a marker, hasn't he, for Baxter to try and compete. I'd imagine Baxter will start against Wigan tomorrow. So that's his chance to impress, I'd suppose.
I think when you appreciate the bigger picture, he's probably had one of the best games for Hull City. Not him personally, but when you look at what's going on, they brought in a keeper who's probably equally as good as him on paper. This was his opportunity to play and say, I want the shirt. And he did exactly that. So when you look at what's on at stake for him, he's had a really good game. To say the pressure's probably on him.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a very good game. So I'm trying to think. So McGuinness then was probably a bit of a he was starved of a bit of supply, I think, in the first half. He didn't really look as dangerous, but he caused a lot of problems in the second half. What do you think McGuinness's goal return is going to be this season, Matt? Do you think he's going to do as good, or
trust has come to me with McGuinness? McGuinness in the Championship first time round, I think I'm not alone when everybody said they looked at him and thought, this guy is a Championship striker. You know, that was definitely my opinion. But you see him in League One. You know, we play different. We managed to be successful in the way we wanted to play in terms of getting involved in the box, and that's the sort of thing that he thrives off. He's strong, he likes to put a challenge in, and he'll put his head or his foot in the way of anything to try and score a goal. And we saw that a lot last season. Then, as we saw on Saturday, we was trying to put the balls in, and it's as if you could tell that we've had a pre-season, we haven't played for like a month or so, whatever it is, and the balls were coming in, but the timing of the runs were a little bit off, or the balls were falling short. And I think as time goes on, that's only going to benefit him. And I think I remember sending a tweet out at the time as soon as he saw it, and I thought, this guy's not good enough for the Championship. I'm eating my words. Because there was three at the back one. I'm sure they had three centre-backs, didn't they? And it didn't look like he lost many. It didn't look like he lost many aerial challenges or he muscled off the ball that much. You know, he was in the right place at the right time. You know, sometimes the ball just wasn't right for him, but the time the ball was right, he scored. And if he continues doing that, there's no reason why he can't go on and get another 10, 15 like he did last season. Was it 18 he finished on?
He got 18,
Yeah. 18.
There's no reason why he can't do that again if it continues with the same supply.
I think in the Championship the first time round, McCann seemed to prefer Eves, didn't he? And I think for a while I thought he was probably the better player. I mean, to me, from a fan's perspective, Eves tended to put himself out a bit more. He ran about more. He seemed to offer himself more as an option, whereas McGuinness was more static. McGuinness always seemed to be the better finisher. He tended to score his chances if he got them. But I think last season just sort of cemented how important McGuinness is to the system and what he offers. And I think me and Joe were talking about it in the car on the way to the game, like his mentor role that he has with Wilkes and Lewis Potter. Like obviously with them being so young and still got so much in the game to learn. Last season with no fans, if you were watching on iFollow, you could always hear McGuinness shouting and swearing at them two because he's keeping them in line. And I think that's such an undervalued trait that he's got, that he's constantly keeping them focused, telling them if they're doing something wrong, you know, like get your head up, look for the pass, stop running into dead ends and corners and losing the ball when you could have given it to me kind of thing. And the fact that he's got 18 goals as well.
We can joke about like team chemistry being, you know, something you only see on FIFA, but it's a real thing. You know, he knows when Lewis Potter gets the ball on the left-hand side, one or two things are going to happen. He's going to take the man on and look for a drag back, or he's going to put a ball in. He knows where he needs to be. Just do that day in, day out in training. Same with Wilkes. I mean, you're probably not as likely to get a pass off Wilkes, but you know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, McGuinness's goal against Preston was, I mean, Lewis Potter straight away, as soon as he received that ball, takes a touch in back on himself to whip it into that near post. McGuinness knew straight away what was happening. He moved before any of them Preston players even knew what had happened. He was already in the back of the net and celebrating. And I think that shows what you were explaining there. He's just on the same wavelength as them, isn't he? debutants then. So who did we have come on? So we had obviously
Matt
Moncur
Smith, brilliant game.
Matt Smith came on. I thought he looked very tidy. Andy Cannon scored with a sublime assist from Tom Eaves. What do we think then in terms of like what is our strongest midfield three then? I'll come to you first, Will.
As it stands, it's the one that played. Just because
no
it's
Honeyman.
the first game.
Honeyman.
We ain't gonna. You can't rely on Honeyman at the moment because we ain't got him for a few weeks.
No, but take injuries out of it. So say you've got a fully fit squad to choose from. McCann's choosing a midfield three. What's he choosing?
As it stands, Doherty, Smallwood, Honeyman.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you? Yeah?
Based on how Smallwood played.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know really what... I'm not going to pretend I know much about Cannon or Smith. I know that Smith's very highly rated by Man City fans and the Doncaster fans liked him last season. Cannon is described by Portsmouth fans. I mean, this could be just...
He's very well liked by Portsmouth.
They said that he ran about a lot, but his end product was crap. But I mean, we've seen
Honeyman when we signed him
already. So. Yeah. I mean, it's a similar thing. Yeah, that what Sunderland fans have said about Honeyman and what we said about him in the Championship. So, but from what I've seen of the little time that they've played, they do look more than capable of stepping up. And I think, in terms of squad depth in the Championship, we need to be able to have backup options that are as strong as the first team. Because obviously injuries, we don't want to be crippled. I mean, you think last season if Honeyman didn't play, we were buggered. We just couldn't create chances. So having players that we can depend upon, even in the wide positions. I mean, we've not really seen Williams play, but he looked okay when he played. You've got Longman, who looks very exciting, who unfortunately missed that game. I do think would have started because I don't think.
Yeah, I think he was going to play.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And Wilkes took a knock and went off as well. So hopefully he don't play tomorrow so that we can rest him. But I think in terms of squad depth, we're looking okay. I think the question what I'll ask you, Joel, is the rumour at the moment is obviously Thomas Meyer is trying to leave and we're going to try and fill his squad place with Huddleston. Now, I love Huddleston and what he's done for City, but do we need him?
I've been saying since we've been linked with him not to sign him, and then it slowly, as I watched him play these couple of games and see a couple of highlights, it does seem like he'd be an okay player to have in the squad, not to start, but as a little mentor really towards our younger players, and to be able to step in if Smallwood drops in form, or even if we just needed to play some slow football where we just need to get the ball over the top to Lewis Potter or Wilkes are on to. So I think Huddleston would be a decent signing, but as long as the wages are right, as long as the contract's right for us, not for him, but for us.
Yeah, I think I can get behind that. I mean, the thing is Huddleston offers something completely different, I think, to any of our other midfielders in the fact that his range of passing is just absurd. You think of it, like you said, the runs behind that Wilkes and Lewis Potter makes. If Huddleston sees one of them and pings one in behind for him, like they're going to be a real problem for a lot of defences. And Lewis Potter, especially against Preston, was just none. I mean, they purposely made a change at half time. They brought on that Sepp van der Berg to try and stop KLP, and then he rinsed him as well. And I think the Preston manager would have just been like, "Oh, I don't know what to do," because KLP just ran circles around their defence. He was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
took an unorthodox approach to it as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
what are he trying to do? Kneecap.
I can't remember. Wilkes looked semi like 50%. There was parts of the game where he got the ball like in the box, for example, and he just took too long to. You could tell he just wasn't match sharp, which I guess when he hasn't had a pre-season is understandable, and hopefully his injury isn't serious. I mean, has anybody seen anything about his injury? They said.
Not so far,
no. I assume he just took a knock and that was for the game and he's all right. But I wouldn't like to see him play tomorrow. I think we need him for the league. I mean, then again, who do we play in his position though? Because are Williams and Longman back?
They're all out with COVID, aren't they?
Smith.
Maybe play Maya, bring him in the shop window.
Yeah, but they won't want to risk injuring him, will they?
Just release him then.
Yeah, but that costs us money. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll come to you, Nathaniel, for what I think will be maybe the hardest question. Who do you think was man of the match?
Man of the match. Well, I don't know. I mean, Smallwood played really well, goal and assist. But I think King Lewis Potter probably just edges in because, I mean, it was a better goal than Smallwood's because it wasn't a huge deflection and he caused a lot of problems. And I mean, we won 4-1 and we created, decent chances and Wilkes wasn't really doing it, but it was all down to Lewis Potter. And that's the exciting thing, that we've got these two really great wingers. And even if one of them isn't having an amazing game, then maybe the other one will and will score. And hopefully one of them scores one week and the other one scores the next one. And we just, succeed like that. So I'll go Lewis Potter, and it was a fantastic assist for McGuinness as well. Put it on a plate for him.
Yeah, I can. I mean, to be fair, you could probably say any of the three. I think. Would you say Coyle might be obviously because he didn't score or assist? Matt, do you think Coyle could have been a contender for man of the match? You think he should have been mentioned in the same?
I mean, anything that happened where there was something happening, whether it was going forward or going backwards, it had something to do with Coyle. So when you look at the highlight reel, it's all to Coyle. Same with Lewis Potter. Whenever it's going forward, it's always Lewis Potter. But that always seems to get a bit more of a mention because you're scoring goals, and that's what fans want to see. Score.
Yeah.
But as for Coyle, I come from where I didn't know much about him. I kind of thought it was just a whole lad who went to Leeds, had a little go at Fleetwood. I didn't know much about him. And again, like with it being locked down last season, you didn't really get to see much of it. So unless you was eye follow up, I was playing football last season, so I didn't get much chance to watch much of the football. So Coyle's new to me this season, and that's a first impression for me. And if he carries on like that, I'm happy, more than happy, because I did see Emmanuel at the beginning of last season.
Season's Coyle, that.
Oh, exactly. And so I saw Emmanuel at the beginning of the season. Someone mentioned it earlier. The first half of the season, it was brilliant. And then I'm going, why is this Coyle playing? Because Emmanuel is class. So obviously, common sense prevails, and Grant McCann knows a lot more about football than I do. If he's playing with Coyle over Emmanuel, there's got to be something towards it. And I saw exactly that on Saturday.
Yeah, I think what Coyle has that Emmanuel doesn't is he's got this, I want to say Ashby style determination. Like when the oppositions have got the ball, there was one point where because obviously he's our right back. There was at one point where he was chasing down their goalkeeper when he had the ball, and then he went back and he showed no signs of fatigue whatsoever. And his determination and his enthusiasm, I think, especially in that Preston, I think that was the best game I'd seen him have. And last season it was class.
Let's not take away the finesse as well. The finesse in terms of the quality of the ball he's trying to put in all the time. You can see what he's trying to do every time, and it might not have been as good this weekend, but I can guarantee the weekends to come, it's only going to get better.
Yeah. I mean,
think someone. Sorry, I'm just butting there, but I think I saw something on Twitter about someone from BBC Radio Lancashire said that Louis Coyle's performance was the best he'd ever seen from a Championship right back, ever.
Oh, wow.
It's a bit much, maybe.
And that was his first game punditing.
I mean, if he's watching Preston all the time, that might be correct.
Yeah, I suppose. Not got much to watch, have they, at right back? I don't even know who played at right back for him.
Whether it was KLP had him on toast.
Yeah, both of them on toast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they had Cunningham in right back first half, didn't they?
I think so.
And then he ended up getting booked, and then they made a couple of changes at half time, put Van der Berg out there, and then hoping he'd deal with KLP. No, he was no better. But obviously, he didn't want to risk Cunningham getting a red on him.
One name not mentioned yet, and someone who I'm assuming this is what happens a lot, is Greg Docherty. Now, he's just everywhere.
Yeah.
He was playing in camp, but he was doing the defensive midfield role. He was in there pressing people at the back, and then he was up there again, creating gaps at the front, or creating runs, or picking out passes, and he was great to watch. And little things like that, they go unseen by the naked eye. I'm going to go for some people don't see that because he didn't get an assist, or he didn't score a goal, or he didn't have 3 shots on target or anything like that. So, but the stuff he did off the ball and on the ball, the little bits were brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, Docherty suffers.
Last season.
he suffers from the fact that he's so consistent that we come to expect it from him every game. That he doesn't get praised for it because that's just what he's normal. That is just what he does. And
he did seem to sort of step up a bit with Honeyman not there. It's like, I'm going to go even further than normal.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he'll have been told to do that, won't he? Because we need.
He was essentially playing the Honeyman role in this game.
I mean, in the second half, you saw he got dropped. He dropped back into CDM. I think Moncare went up towards the end.
Yeah, they did try a little rotation in the middle. I think what he was trying to do, was try and find out them three, because when you look at it, like Smallwood, Moncare and Doherty, Smallwood's naturally going to be the more defensive of the three. So he was probably experimenting with Doherty and Moncare, trying to figure out who would be the more likely contender to be the Honeyman replacement if we needed be, kind of thing. And I think he gave them license to just switch it up at times, and because they both offer something different.
With Greg Doherty, he's just got abundance of energy. It's apparent that he's got he can get everywhere. So I think we saw it was 2-1 for a long time. It was 2-1 for what felt like a long time anyway, because Preston were trying to get back into the game, and that third goal really did settle the nerves. But in that 2-1 period, you saw Greg Doherty was doing a lot more defensive than what he was doing going forward, just to tighten things up at the back and make sure that we didn't concede that goal. And it's players like that and that sort of mentality that really rallies on the rest. Remember, like your Ashbys and stuff like that, people that do that week in, week out and make sure that if we concede a goal, it's got to be a good one.
Yeah.
Last season, it was a case of he'd get to the 90th minute and Doherty would still be going full pelt, as if he'd only just started playing, and it was like, how is he doing this?
Yeah, he does have an abundance of energy. So, do we think then that I'll ask you, Will? Do we think we were that good, or were Preston just really bad?
Both.
Both.
I think it's a bit of both. I think we essentially were still carrying the form that won us the title, and I think the team knew they were playing a side who were going to be a mid-table. They were there for the taking, essentially. It wasn't like they were playing Fulham or Sheffield United or one of the bigger teams. They were playing a team who was mid-table normally, and they thought, well, we'll go there. We know we can play with a bit no fear because we're away from home. They're probably expected to win, and we just went for it the way that we had done last season. And I think it kind of surprised Preston, essentially. I think Preston probably expected us to play a little bit more defensive than we did. And I think they seemed to play like they were expecting us to have players like Honeyman in the team, even though he's nowhere near the side, because they seem to completely misread the midfield completely.
I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I watched Preston and I felt like their style of play that they're trying to do doesn't suit the players that they've got. Like they played like a five at the back with wing backs. They just kept hitting it long, and they weren't having much joy when it came to Jones and Greaves just nodding it straight back. It just let us keep possession, and I think that the most frustrating thing from a Preston perspective, especially reading some of their tweets and listening to the Preston podcast earlier, that there's no identity in the team. There's no, that they went 1-0 up and then they sat back straight away. And it's the 10th minute in the game, and they were already trying to set to 1-0 lead.
Their best chances came from our mistakes, essentially. They didn't really create anything themselves that much, apart from like the couple of shots at the start of the second half when they knew they had to get back into it. They didn't really create anything of their own. Like their goal came from us giving them too much space and like moving inwards, and now players not tracking back. And then Greaves his head out, a massive error, gave them their best chance after that. But they didn't really create anything.
I mean, everything just seemed to be like an Andy Dawson-esque diag. They just wanted to be that all the time, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the one time they didn't try that was that quick free kick. All right, people are out. The one time they didn't try it, they went and scored, and you kind of thought, I hope they do that again, because they've really found a weakness there with Emmanuel getting caught like tucking in, because that ball could come in all day long.
They just sat back.
Yeah,
I was really surprised that they went 1-0 up. They went 1-0 up and they didn't try and score a second. They just thought, that'll do. Well, we've got this in the bag, and then we had the ball for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's the largest criticism that Preston fans have been saying. I mean, I think the Alan Brown quote a lot of us took wrong as well. I mean, I was talking to a Preston fan on Twitter because I laughed at him saying basically like, the comment where it said, they've come up from League One, kind of that. condescending style comment, but it was taken out of context. Like, apparently
it was. It wasn't as big a jab as it really was. People made it.
Yeah,
out.
no. Apparently, it's
the
against their
context?
owner. It's nothing to do with us.
Apparently, Preston.
No. Well, I thought it was quite funny that it sounded like they underestimated us. You know, they thought, it's just a League One team, so we'll be fine. And then we ended up turning them over. But when you look deeper, apparently, like, you know, they're in the kind of cycle that we were in a few years ago, where they're not really recruiting. They're selling the best players and then replacing them with freebies and loanies that nobody else wants.
Ready?
Right, so unfortunately, I haven't had to leave, but we're going to move on to the previews for this week anyway. So we've got Wigan, obviously, tomorrow in the Carabao Cup, the highest echelons of cup competition, and QPR on Saturday. So, guys, what are your thoughts on... We'll go Wigan first, obviously.
Wigan, I think we will go through. It'll be mostly our second squad playing. But I think we'll manage to get past them, possibly on penalties. But yeah, I just see us winning. There's not much else you can really expand on. It's not an important match, really.
I've had enough of penalties this year.
Yeah, same here. Same enough penalties.
Nathaniel?
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see some of the new signings like Cannon, perhaps, and maybe Williams or Longman if they're back from COVID. Yeah, but it's just another game to build up match fitness. And from the way McCann talked about the game, that rotation isn't like necessarily nailed on. We might see Elder and Wilkes get a few more minutes, treat it almost like a friendly for them. I think we might go through, but yeah, I think it might be on penalties.
Go on then, Matthew.
I think it's one of those old debates, isn't it? Do you keep the winning mentality or do you go for a rotation? I think it's going to be the latter. Unfortunately, we don't have a David Wheater coming in and covering the centre backs, so we're going to have to stick with Creed and Jones at the back. So I don't know. I expect a rotated squad. When you rotate, you've got to try and keep your span and certain things staying together, I think. But I really don't know what to think. I've got a funny feeling we'll go out tomorrow.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we went out, to be honest.
It's just Hull, innit? It's what we do. We so convincing anyway. On Saturday and then get hammered.
This is our year. This is our year.
Yeah.
And it'd be good for us to just concentrate on staying in the league, because let's be realistic, that's number one in it this year.
Yeah, I'd rather focus on the league. Obviously, the cup's useful for letting players have some game time, and it's always nice to have that. But yeah, it wouldn't be the end of the world at all if we went out, to be honest. Obviously, you want to have it's always nice to have a cup run, but it wouldn't be disastrous if we didn't have it. So moving on to the Saturday and the more important game, home game. Finally, fans back in the K-Con for a league game for the first time in what feels like 50 years, for the return of QPR. I'll go to you this time, Matthew.
It'd be good to see Jordan Device. I was a big fan of Jordan Device. I really liked him. He had a couple of mistakes. I really liked him. So it's good to see him back. Hopefully, he doesn't have one of his good games against us. As for the team, I can see he's going like for like, maybe unless someone at Tuesday puts an absolute blinder and ends the place, then I can't see the team changing. You might just find new places on the bench for players coming back from injuries. Maybe Wilkes sitting out. We don't know. It depends on what happens tomorrow. As for the result, I think we had a great result against Preston. Watching the way we play, it'd be easy to say another 2 or 3 goals. But I think that's opened the eyes up to the rest of the league, and everyone's going to have a counter plan. And it might be a case of keeping us quiet, and it could drain us. So I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Play, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I mean, QPR is going to be a much tougher test than Preston because they had great form at the end of last season and they've kept that squad of exciting loan players together. they didn't win their first game, so they won't have as much confidence as we do. But yeah, I mean, again, like it's the Championship; it could go either way. I'm confident that we might get a few goals, but we might concede a few more to a team with good strikers in Dykes and Austin. So I might go for an exciting 2-2.
Sure.
I think for this game, I think they're going to play a similar system to Preston with a 5 at the back. You'll have Wallace and Odebaja as wing backs, and then you'll have Device, Dickey, and Barbie in defence. So I think if we play the same as we did against Preston, go with the same approach, I can see us winning the game. Hopefully, a convincing game, but to be honest, I think we're going to scrape by with a 2-1 win. I can't really see much of a threat if we can settle down from QPR. It all depends on how quickly we get into the game. Because if we start slow like we did against Preston, QPR will punish us a lot more.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it'll be a tricky game. I think QPR are going to be one of the sides that are going to be up there at the end of the season, and maybe not challenging for automatics, but I think they're going to be in a playoff push definitely. So they're going to be a decent test. Similar to Matt, I think it'll be me a draw is probably the result. I don't know, I'd be happy with a draw because I think QPR they're a much better side than Preston, put it that way. And I think even if we play the same as we did, we're still gonna struggle a bit more. I don't think we'll struggle overall. I think we'll still have a decent time if we play like that again. I'd keep the same team as well. Wilkes may be the only one that might be the change. But yeah, I think if you go at them like that, I think we can get something from them. But it's going to be a lot tougher than it was this past Saturday.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Be a tough one. But
Right,
we all
then,
get to meet up and go for a beer beforehand, don't we, sir?
Absolutely. That's the most important thing. We're all actually going to get to see a football game in person at the KC. When was the last time you lot were at the KC?
A couple of weeks ago. No, was it last week?
For a competitive game, Joel.
Last week for the rugby.
Where's it?
I want competitive, to be fair. Hull FC got battered.
To watch a decent team, Joel.
Yeah, St Helens played.
To watch football.
To watch football. In a competitive game, it was when we got battered by Leeds. Brilliant.
At least that's not going to happen this year.
Honestly, couldn't tell you last game.
Unfortunately, we don't get to play them this year. Give them a bit of revenge.
It was the last home game with fans. That was the last game I went to.
Leeds as well, then.
Yeah.
What about you, Nathaniel?
When Medley first played for us.
It was when Livermore scored against us for West Brom, and we lost 1-0 to West Brom. But that was like some time last 2 years ago.
Oh, I can't even remember mine because mine's like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was Wolverhampton. That's how long ago it was.
Was it the
Dicker scoring against us and then signing for us the following day?
Lovely.
But yeah, it's going to be nice to see old faces and get back to the stadium after so long away. Thank Christ. But I think that's probably everything today. So I know Ant's not here, but he'll say bye. But the rest of you?
See you later.
We'll see you later.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
And thanks for watching us, and see you soon.
See you later, guys. See you Saturday.
Right, done.